wisdom in the secret heart.
Well, good morning. Yeah, I don't know. Good morning. This morning I had the opportunity, and last week and this week and next coming week, we're walking through membership with a group of people. I'm so excited about that. And today we read something, and I want to read it to you that comes out of our church membership covenant. Now, if you're not a covenant member of our church, that's okay. This will be fine. But I just want to point something out to you. That every year we take our membership back to zero and we re-covenant together to the things of Christ. Not the things that we think are important, but the things that are biblically important. And so in reading that covenant today, I just want to point something out to you that there's 6 things on that page, and one of them says that we make Sunday a priority to gather with each other and to serve each other. And this is something that you and I, those of us who are covenant members of our church, and those of us who are thinking about kind of joining in and kind of moving with us and being a part of this body and this festival, we're going to do that. And it's right here in black and white, and so it's got to be law. If it's in black and white, it has to be law, right? Okay, it's right here. And so there's a couple of other things on this page, like be honest and real, live life together. Man, if the last couple of weeks, if you haven't been around here, we've took a deep dive into that. We talked immensely about what that looks like. We talked about being honest and not living in isolation, and talking about coming as we are before the Lord and where we are in our space and what we look like and how we show up here and all of that. And a couple of other things that are on here. We talked about the fact that we are going to biblically teach correct. We're going to try our best to teach and to share and to grow in the faith and grow in Scripture, and we do that. We talk about that. But man, one of the things we don't talk about is why we gather together on Sunday. And so this morning, I want to talk about that because I want to understand that I want to make Sunday a priority in my life of gathering together. So we're going to spend some time. This series is out of the heart. This is something that's on my heart. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while. It's something that keeps moving me into a place of, man, just having good conversations about things sometimes that are awkward. Most of you, all of you, are in this room today. Yeah, thank you for the one of you who caught what I just said. You're in the space today. You're here with me and with us. So you probably are going to get a really good reprieve at the end of the day. You're going to feel really good about yourself at the end of this day because you are in the room today. All those people that left with their Titans jerseys on that are driving to Nashville right now, they're not going to feel good about themselves when this is over, when they listen to the podcast this week. No. So we're going to talk about Sunday church for a minute. I want to play a video for you that kind of sets us up and gives us a chance to just kind of dialogue. And this is intended to be a little humorous, so just take it for that. But it also is intended to just kind of point out some very things that are right in front of our face. And so take a look at this video, take a watch, and enjoy.
All right. Sunday morning, we got to find a church to go to.
It should be easy. There were a bunch when we were driving
Seems
there.
like there was one on every block. It can't be that hard, right?
They're everywhere. Babe, put your seatbelt on.
We're still in the parking lot.
You know I worry.
Okay, here's one up here. Listen, Church of Jesus Christ. That's us.
Of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, okay, no.
Can't do that.
Okay, here we go, right here.
Oh, I love the funny church signs. What's that say?
What is it? Choose the bread of life or your toast.
No. I'm gluten-free. I can't go there.
Okay.
Is that Echo Church?
The churches with the nightclub names, I don't love those.
Plus, we're a new creation, and we both came out of that lifestyle.
Yes.
Praise him, raise him. Okay, what about that one? United Pentecostal Church.
Okay, well, you're not getting in there. You're wearing pants, so for sure, no.
Oh, I forgot my long denim skirt. You're right.
Plus, you're wearing too much makeup.
What?
No, for the denomination, they got a thing about women and makeup and stuff.
I don't think they do.
No, you look great. I'm just saying it's not just for there.
Yeah. Should stop talking. Oh, is that Iglesia de Cristo?
Really, with the accent? Let's not do this.
I've been using Rosetta Stone.
You don't speak Spanish. We're not going to a Spanish-speaking church.
I kind of speak Spanish.
You don't.
Well, I like traditional. I like
Okay.
neutrals.
Got it. Yep.
I don't want something too progressive.
Sure.
I don't like steeples, but I also don't like strip malls.
Okay, so like something in the middle.
Okay, potential church?
Nah, maybe next year.
Okay.
You didn't get the joke.
It's not funny.
All right, here we go. Barnabas Anglican Church. Anglican? Can we do
Oh,
that?
and it looks like they have a female pastor.
Ugh.
Really?
No, I'm just saying I'd rather not.
Do you want
That's
to
all.
sleep on the couch tonight?
Babe, this is way harder than I thought, honestly.
I know. We're in a city. There's got to be an Andy Stanley satellite church somewhere.
I mean, right? If not, there's probably one coming soon.
I'm sure they've already got a building fund.
Wow.
Okay, Ebenezer Baptist Tabernacle.
Is that a black church?
What?
I'm just saying you wouldn't last in there. All the dancing and moving. Ebenezer Baptist Tabernacle. You can't even clap on rhythm at the white church, okay?
I watched The Potter's House, first of all. Second of all, I love T.D. Jakes, and I follow his daughter on Instagram.
Okay.
Oh, what about Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses?
I don't know how it works there with visitors. Can we just walk in or do we have to knock first?
That was dumb.
Come on, that's hilarious.
Cathedral of St. Peter?
I don't know. Is that Catholic?
I don't know. How can you tell?
I don't know. With the Catholic Church, you always need to look for the keywords: Saint, Perpetual, Sacred Heart, anything Guadalupe related. If we're not in Mexico, for me is a no-go.
Well, what about like a mega church?
I don't want like a mega church. I'm out on any church that has like cops directing
Okay, two
traffic.
hands on the wheel.
It has cops directing traffic. I'm out. It's going to take forever to get to lunch.
Okay, you're right.
All right, here we go. Look, New Hope Church of God. We can do that, right?
Church of God, is that the one with no instruments?
I think, is that Church of Christ?
Oh no, it's Church of Christ. I grew up Church of Christ, and we couldn't even wear tank tops. No thanks.
Okay, good. Great voices, though. Great a cappella.
I'd still rather not. Oh, Jericho's House of Praise.
What are we just going to drive around it 7 times? Maybe then we'll decide.
What?
Good joke.
I don't get it.
Well, read your Bible.
Okay, what about this tabernacle?
Okay, as a general rule, tabernacles, cathedrals, temples, synagogues are all out.
At least the synagogue would have a yarmulke to put on that hair.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Is that Hillsong?
Thank you. Lead me to the cross. This is
Perfect.
perfect. Let's go. Oh, babe, we're on vacation. I didn't bring my skinny jeans. We can't go to Hillsong.
Yeah, but those have holes in them. They look fine.
What? No.
Definitely can't wear that Tommy Hilfiger shirt. What do you have on underneath
That's all
that?
this. I wear it to the office. I don't know, like a V-neck or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like
just
that.
wear the V-neck and put these on.
These glasses? They don't even have lenses in
Trust
them.
me.
Why?
Yeah, you look like Carl Lentz.
What?
I hope he's
Okay.
preaching today.
Okay, you know what? Not going here.
Well, he's an attractive man.
We're going to brunch.
I got to tell you, so true. Even though they capsulized that in a vacation piece, it's so true about church that the deciding factor of church for us can often be what it looks like. I grew up, and some of you know my story a little bit, but let me take just a second and set a plate for you. I grew up in a church called Madison First. It was all over in Madison First Assembly of God, and it was located right across from Shoney's. I have a picture of it. This is a picture, we'd put it up before. This is a picture of the church I grew up in. Started going there when I was in the the first grade, and the last time that I was there was Easter of my sophomore year in college. So I was pretty familiar with life in this building. Now, this building had some unique things about it. It was built in multiple phases. The basement kind of was dark because it was all stone from when it was originally built. And so I just want to set a couple of things in space before I start talking about this. This was my experience, okay? I'm going to talk about my experience growing up. Not that it's right or that it's wrong or that I'm putting anyone down or that your experience may be totally different from this. In fact, I expect it would be, but some of you will relate to mine. Some of you could relate to this video. Some of you got half the jokes in the video. Others of you didn't because you have no frame of reference for some of the things that are, quote, Christian culture. But this is my experience, and so I can't live a life not talking about what happened to me as a child and growing up in church. So is the plate set okay? Great. Yeah, you're going to all be offended. Okay, so when I grew up there, I was there all the time. I was there 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes 5. When we had revival, I was there 7 nights a week. And it would be an exciting revival, so it would last multiple weeks after that. I don't know if that was a big thing for y'all, but I mean, school did not matter. We would just be late the next day. Well, we wouldn't be late. We would still go. I mean, we were church-based people. And that church, man, I have some amazing memories in there. We used to run through the basement halls. They was scary. I was always afraid someone was going to jump out. I'd walk through it, be there by myself sometimes. Like when my parents were at meetings, I would just roam the church aimlessly. And man, there were things that I was just waiting for them to jump out of those long corridors as I would walk down. Church was a scary place. For any of y'all, did you ever go to church that was scary? Oh, yeah, it's like scary. It's funny, Caleb was telling me the other day he used to walk through our church and think it was scary. I was like, Caleb, this is not a scary place, but I guess it was as a kid. Anyway, church can be scary. And next door to that church, I have another picture. The next picture I'll show you was a Crystal. And there was a Crystal hamburger place there. My mom would give us offering to put in the offering. Crystals were like 15 cents, 25 cents if you wanted cheese. And so I would go sneak through the fence with my friends, and we would go buy the 15-cent hamburger and take a quarter and maybe buy one with cheese, depending on what we had, and then give what was left over, the 2 or 3 pennies, in the offering. And we would sneak back at the church. That was like every day. It was every Sunday. We'd smell all greasy and oily when we'd come in. Man, it was so many memories there. We had this strip of property in the back that was 10 foot wide, and we'd play football there before church, after church, and on Wednesdays. I mean, but the cars would park with their bumpers over it. We'd crash into the cars and dent the cars all the time and blame somebody else. I mean, that was just how I grew up, and that was me in church. It was what we did. I can tell you, I never once thought about what the music looked like. I never once thought about what the preaching was like. I never once thought about why I was going there. I went there. You know why I went there? Because my parents took me. I didn't have an option. They fed me, they clothed me, they gave me a house, and they told me what to do, and I did it. And that is how I grew up. I wasn't rebellious. I didn't say, well, this isn't for me. I just went. And the funniest part about this whole scenario for me is what was next door to our church. So I have another picture that I want to show you, and it looks like this. This is the picture of the Baptist church and the Episcopal church. We're all three right in a row, just lined up. 3 options, choose what you want, choose as you will. Whatever is your liking on a Sunday morning, just choose one. Just like the video we just saw, find a place to choose where you're going to go to church. And this morning, I want to just dabble into that world a minute. I want to dabble into Sunday morning. And again, you're here, so this is going to be good for you, but I hope it helps us understand how it relates to us as being followers of Christ. CNN did a story a few years ago on church. They wanted to talk about church, and so they did this big poll, this big survey. They sent out to all these people, and they asked a question, and here was a question they asked. They said, give us the reasons why you go to church. Tell us why you go to church. And I want to give you the list of those. These are several reasons of why people go to church. What they said, this is not what we say, this is just, or even you say, maybe you do, I don't know. One of the main reasons they said is so that their children will have a moral foundation. So we're going to take our kids to church, and we're going to get them in church so that they'll have a moral foundation. We could talk about that, but we'll save that for another time. They went to become a better person. They would go to church so we can be a better person. We're going to choose to go to church to be a better person. Number 3, so that they can find comfort in times of trouble and sorrow. Statistics show that the year after 9/11 happened in the United States was one of the greatest attended church years of all time. Because we were scared, and we were afraid, we were sorrowful. So we turn to the one place we know, and that's Sunday morning. And all of a sudden it just shows up. People just show up because of reasons like that. Another one was this, so that they find that the sermons are valuable. They find that the sermon is valuable in their life. They continue, another reason is so that they can continue their family's religious traditions. They go to church to continue just because it's just part of tradition. Why do you go to church? I go to church because my parents went to church. Our friend Jay Grossman comes from the Jewish faith, and we've been talking last week or so about that. Jay used to go to church on all the high holidays and all the big days, and they would have church like all day, and they would read from like the Hebrew and the Talmud and the Torah, and they would sit there and listen to it, and all those chantings and all those, not chantings, but all that repeated, repetitive verbiage again and again, and they do public readings together. And that was big. And Jay would go to church. Why? Because he would just continue the family tradition. He would show up on Sundays for that very reason. The next one is they feel obligated to. There's an obligation. Man, if I don't go, I'm going to sin. I'm going to end up going to hell. If I'm not in church on Sunday. If going to church on Sunday is a qualifier for getting us into heaven, guys, guess what? I'm in. I am in. It doesn't matter what the rest I do. They feel obligated to go. They'd go to meet new people and to socialize. I mean, that was Facebook in its day. I mean, I'm just put it in perspective. It was a place where we go and we meet and we socialize and we find mates there. And we do things in church. It's a place where things happen. Well, now we don't do that as much anymore. It's a choice, but some people still do. Finally, they go to please their family, their spouse, or their partner. That's why I go on Sunday. God, I got to get out of bed. I got to go to church on Sunday morning. This is just what they found. They also asked another question behind that said, what are the reasons why you don't go? Why don't we go to church? Why don't we go? Well, number 1, They are going to find other ways to practice their own faith. We find other ways to practice our faith. Just automatically indicating that there are other ways that my faith is fulfilled by not gathering on a Sunday. That they're not a believer in Christ, so they're not going to go. That they haven't found a house of worship that they like. They haven't found a house of worship that they like. I referenced the video that we just watched. Get in the car, drive around all you want to, and just pick what you want. Skinny jeans, not skinny jeans. Suits, ties, not suits and ties. Shorts, acoustic worship, band worship. Loud music, soft music. No music, instruments. And just pick. It's like a smorgasbord. Pick what you want. So they just haven't found one they like. I don't know what they're looking for, but I can't believe they can't find one. They don't like the sermons. I can't believe that would ever be true, especially of here. They don't feel welcome. They show up in a church, they walk in, somebody greets them at the door, somebody says hi to them, somebody says hi to them when they're sitting in the seat. They get a coffee mug, and everybody says, hey, we're glad you're here, and then they walk out, and as they're walking out, somebody doesn't greet them, and they go, man, I just didn't feel welcome as I was going to that church. They find a reason not to be welcomed. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't to me. They go because they don't have the time. They don't go because we just don't have the time. We're going to talk about that. They don't go because they're in poor health. They don't go because there's no churches near them, which I don't know where that is in America, but it is not in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. Not like the picture that I just showed you, where 3 of them share the same property line. These are reasons why they say that they didn't go. Pastor, what does all this have to do? How does this is a Sunday conversation about why we come to church on Sunday. So put that in your mind and let's talk about it. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 12 to 25 reads as follows. And since we have the high priest who rules over God's house, let us go right into the presence of God with sincere hearts, fully trusting him. For our guilty conscience has been sprinkled with Christ's blood and makes us clean, and our bodies have been washed with pure water. Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for God can be trusted to keep his promises. And let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. Verse 25, and let us not neglect our meeting together as some do. Let us not neglect the meeting together as some do, but encourage one another, especially now that we see the day returning. The day of his return is drawing near. Man, the idea of why we gather on church is a historical perspective. They did it in the New Testament. When the church was established, they did it. They met weekly to celebrate the resurrection of who Christ was. We find it in Acts chapter 2, and we'll read that later. This idea of meeting together is just not something that America made up. It's something that has value in biblical roots. It's in our church membership book. It's got to be right. Meeting in church on Sunday, well, Pastor, what's the big deal about it? I'm going to tell you, it's huge. And this series is called Out of the Heart. This series is something that we wanted to do to give us the chance to just talk about things that are just burning on our heart, things that we don't always talk about. Things that maybe God is speaking to us, or things that are important to us that we just kind of want to just have a conversation about. And this is one of those. Why do we gather in church on Sunday? Well, here we go. Gathering together is essential. It's historical, it's biblical. What happens, though, as a result of our gathering is inseparable in importance from what we do when we gather. Did you hear that? What we do when we gather. If we are just walking in the door to just be in the space because it's ticking off something on our list, then you are missing why we gather. And even if you're here this morning and you're here out of some sort of obligatory listing that you may have read, or maybe something spawned with you, you go, man, yeah, kind of maybe true, then you're missing why maybe we gather. It's what we do when we're in the space. What do we do here? How does it look? The time of gathering is not where we're equipped. We don't come together on Sunday morning and hope that we can equip you to do everything you need to do for the kingdom of God and send you out and you go out there and you slay the beast this week. You've been equipped fully. No, it is not a one-stop shop. It's not like a pit stop. I hate it when people say, I got to go get fueled up this week. What the heck does that mean? But that's our concept. Our concept of why we gather, why we come to church, is so that it's like our tank has been emptied. Let me tell you, boy, I'm starting to preach a whole nother message here, but let me just talk about this for a minute. If you and I live a life that our lives are so drained after 7 days that we need somebody to stick the gas tank in and refill us up, then there's a mistake between the time we get filled up and the next time we get filled up. We need to be in a constant cycle of refueling our life. So the concept that Sunday morning is something, and that's done with community, and that's done with living authentically, and that's done with letting people speak into your life, and that's done with not being in isolation, that's done with not being, these ideas are life-giving. That's why we gather on Sunday. We don't gather on Sunday because it's just what we need to just get refueled. So maybe that touches with somebody. They don't think that you can make it from Sunday to Sunday just on one refuel. I mean, guys, what happens when the metaphor doesn't work anymore and we're electric cars? It doesn't fit anymore, right? Sorry, Hubert. I looked at Hubert who drives an electric car and made me think about that. So what we do when we gather, it's not just this idea that we ultimately equip you, nor is it the thing that ultimately defines us. Going to church is not the definition. I shared it with the membership group this morning. Being a member of a certain church is not what defines you. Showing up on Sunday morning, being in a room on Sunday morning God doesn't look at us and go, oh, I'm so excited Bob's in church today. Hey, heavenly host, come here. He's in church today. Woohoo! For some of us, that probably happens for them up there. It doesn't ever happen that way. This is about a place where we come together and we are ultimately reminded of what Christ is doing among us. What Christ is doing among us every day. Acts chapter 2, 42 to 47 talks about what they did daily. When we come into this room on a Sunday and I look across your space and I see you and I go, man, wow, look, there's Rich. I wonder what's happening in Rich's life this week. Hopefully somebody's been pouring into Rich's life this week, has been encouraging him. Otherwise, he's just coming to get fueled up. Hopefully he makes it through the week and something tragic doesn't happen. It's such the wrong perspective. There's 3 things I want to tell you this morning. Number 1 is this. When we come here on Sundays, gathering on Sundays should be part of our life. It should be part of our weekly life. Church weekly gathering should be part of our life. Not just something that we do occasionally when we have time. It should be part of our life. My life growing up, I'm just going to just tell you, some of my church experiences were horrible. Things I heard, things I saw, things I walked through. Maybe yours were not. Some of mine were a disaster. So much to the point that it makes me not even want to be inside of a building called the church. The building called the church, because of what it associated with me. Not just the scary hallways that I walked through, or not just the structure, but the events that happened there. And I'm telling you that church should be a part of your daily life, when in actuality, some of us might be disappointed with our church past experience. So coming into matter of fact, I've had people tell me that we're not sure we really want to get involved in church because of some hurt or some past or some structure in there that's happened to them. Let me encourage all of you, keep pushing through that if that's you. Church gathering weekly as a whole, this Sunday event that we have in our culture should be a part of your life. Because here's what happens to us. Here's why it doesn't become that. Because of what we call captivity of activity. Captivity of activity. Man, I remember, and I'm just going to go right on them. I remember a day in my life when I used to get so mad pastoring this church. In the early days of pastoring the church, and somebody would not be here for 3 weeks in a row. Now, number 1, we didn't have a good enough community place, so I had no idea where they were. I couldn't ask anybody where, so I had to call them and find out. And I called them and find out. You know what they tell me? Well, we had soccer travel this past 3 weeks, and we've been going to soccer. I would get so mad. And this is what I would say. I would go, you are nothing but a sinner. You can't even, you're letting sports overtake coming to church. Guys, I'm just confessing and being honest with you. I would get so mad about that. I would get so mad that people would let something overtake coming to church. Church was sacred to me. You do everything you can to be in church. Of course, I was there for the wrong reason as well, because it was like a check mark. It was like something on my list. I wasn't really concerned about what I was doing there. I just say I was there. And if you can't come to get your check mark, I'm sorry if you're chasing your children. A few years later, God began to set me free. My children started having to travel on Sunday for soccer. And lo and behold, it wasn't a sin anymore. It was freedom. It's like, wow, why didn't somebody tell me this before? And I wouldn't have been all mad. But the truth of that whole scenario is neither one of those places. It's the fact that our lives are active. You and I have activities going on in our life. You and I have things going here and there. We have children. We have family. We have things that we have to do for work. We have travel. The list is endless. And all of those are absolutely right. But if we are not careful, the absolute process of all those things will hold us in captive, that church weekly attendance gets pushed to the back table. Listen, man, I repented for the angry way I used to feel about people who would not show up on church for whatever reason that they were going to do, because that was just a horrible life of me. It's not that person anymore. I understand it. But what I really understand is why I need to gather. I don't want this gathering to be something that takes second seat. I'm going to challenge you with a question. When was the last time you planned your activity around coming to church on a Sunday? When was the last time that you thought, man, I so want to see Jim and Sally and Susie that I'm going to give up. I'm going to drive an extra 3 hours to get home instead of just taking the weekend and recuperating before I go to church on Sunday before my vacation. When was the last time we made church gathering a priority? And I'm not condemning any of us in the room. I'm just asking a question. You know why? Because maybe what's happening to us on Sunday is not that big of a thing. And I want to challenge that. I want to challenge that when you walk into this room and I see Hubert's face, my soul leaps. When I see some of you, maybe not so much. But when Hubert comes in, but when I, not as a pastor, but as a follower of Christ, know that we're working together and moving forward. There are some people that I know that work diligently to be in the space on Sunday mornings. Single moms have multiple kids to get together and get up and get out of the building and get here. I applaud that. I see them walk in. I go, my gosh, they just inspire me. Not because this is sacred, because of what we do in here is sacred. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we have to set the plate. We have to talk, but we just have to talk. Listen, man, this sounds like, man, Jay Grossman came into church today. He told me not to make him an illustration, but sorry, Jay, you don't tell me not to make you an illustration. If you tell me not to make you an illustration, get what you become. You become an illustration. So Jay came to church this morning, he had his Titans jersey on. Guess where Jay went today? Jay went to the Titans game. Jay. But guess where Jay was today? Jay was here this morning. He was asked to do something. He came here, he was serving, he was doing his thing. And we all just going to herald Jay as this great guy. And he is a wonderful guy. But man, that's not what makes Jay great to me, is that he chose to come 2 hours to church this morning and be with us in the first gathering and then run some media and then leave. What makes Jay a great guy is that he's living in community, he's living with people, he's being authentic, he's letting God change his life, he's sharing it with his family, and he loves us enough that he wants people to know that, and he shows up to do his part. He sings and he worships with us. This is the life change that happens when we start living in a space that's right. So what are you saying, Pastor, that Sunday's a litmus test? No, I'm not even that. I'm telling you that Sunday mornings is a place that if we do too much in our life, it will captivate and cause us to not think about why we show up on Sunday. When I show up on Sunday, I'm looking for the people that are in my community group. I'm looking to hug them. I'm scoping them out. I'm like, well, why are they not here? I'm wondering what happened. Did something happen? Why didn't they show up? Not because I'm keeping roll, because I care about them. This is why, and you know what else I want to do? I want to be with them. I want to be in the space together with them. Let me read this one to you. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1-3 says this. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. So let us run with endurance the race that God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people, then you won't be weary and give up. At the core of my life is I don't want you to give up. And I read this passage for you. The beauty of this passage is what Christ did for us, but nestled inside of it is this line that says, and let us. The third thing I want to tell you is this church is about us. So let me help you with this for a second. This is Christ's church. Christ established the church. Upon this rock I will build my church. The gates of hell will not prevail against it. And we understand the global church as a big, huge whole. Please understand, we're not talking about that for a second. What I'm talking about here when I say church is about us, it's this gathering. This Sunday morning weekly gathering is about you and me doing this together that helps us strip off the weights that slow us down, that help us run the race of endurance that is set before us, that let us look to Jesus, the founder and the perfecter of our faith, that let us not grow weary and give up. These four things that let us do this together, that's why we gather. Let me give it to you this way. We come together in this room and we sing together. We worship together. We read scripture together. We drink coffee together. We make jokes together. We laugh together. We hug together. We listen together. We realize each one of us and all these things that we do it together because it's the joy that brings us together. I read that passage for you so you understand that this is us. This is us doing this together. This is just one of the many things that we do. That's why I read it out to you from this book. This is not the one thing we do on Sunday mornings, but it is part of a whole. It's like missing a chunk out of the pie. When the pie is missing, the pie, it's gone. It can't be used. It's not a whole pie anymore. So why is Sunday important? Acts chapter 2, 42 to 47, let's read it. It says, and they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in the breaking of bread and in the prayers. And fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done by the apostles. And all who believed, listen to what it says, and all who believed were together and had all things in common. They were together and had them in common. They sold their possessions for good. They parted them to all men, as everyone had need. And then they continually daily with one accord in the temple. With one accord in the temple. They gathered together in the temple with one accord, according to their heart, according to what was happening in them. They wanted to be together in the temple daily. Did y'all see that? Listen, man, we got it wrong, Jimmy. We're only doing 1/7 of what we need to be doing. This says they were gathered daily in the temple. Well, how do we get around that one? I'm not sure. I have to think about that for a second. It says, and they gathered together daily in the temple. They broke bread from house to house. They ate the meat with gladness and singleness of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people, and the Lord added to their church daily. The whole reason for this conversation today is simply, I want you to understand there's something that happens when we physically come together in a corporate room. There's something about singing together. There's something that happens and I'm just going to kind of cross into a little space here. There's something that happens together in the spiritual of our being when we're together. There's an encouragement that happens to you. I don't even have to come up and encourage you, Bethany. Just seeing you in the room encourages me. There's something, if I can use this buzzword, organically that brings us together. There's something that magnifies our life when we come together. Man, when you're not here, it breaks my heart. Not because you're not here, but because we're not doing what we need to be doing together. So why would we talk about this on a Sunday morning when we're all in the room? That is a great question. Because I hope it changes our perspective next time we think about not coming to the room. Really, Pastor? You're guilting me into coming to church? I'm not guilting you. I'm helping you understand why we come. I used to go to church for all the wrong reasons. And that's really where this is about. So I used to come to church for all the wrong reasons, even as a pastor. I don't know if you heard that or not, but I came to church for the wrong reasons as a pastor. I did church for the wrong reasons. It wasn't until I just began to understand that out of my brokenness, out of my hurts, out of my frustrations, out of all the things that I experienced in my life, out of the religious practices that I was a part of, I wish I'd come to a place that I didn't have to do church anymore. And that was not a good place. And that was while I was pastoring. I don't know if you understand, but that's how I felt as a lead pastor of a church, that this is just not any fun anymore. This doesn't work anymore. People's lives aren't really being drastically changed. They're just showing up because they maybe don't have anywhere else to go, or they like and then I go back to the list again, and they choose to come on a Sunday morning because there's something on the list that puts them in a building. And that's how I was doing church. And then I began to realize that that's not what this Sunday gathering was about. The Sunday gathering was a place to edify, encourage, and uplift, and equip, and sing together, and pray one for another corporately. And listen, and I'm just going to be as honest as I can. John beautifully just today took us to a place where he said, hey, think about somebody who's not in the room today. And let's just pray for them for whatever reason that they're not here. And you know what we'll do? We might take that as a pass-off. We might take that as, man, and my heart in my spirit, I just began to weep a little bit because I'm like, man, I know there are people who are not here because they've let the captivity of activity take them away from the one possible place in their life that God's speaking to them. And maybe you on a Sunday morning who speaks to somebody's life by being in the room, and it changes the catapult of the direction that they're going. I happen to know that people come to church every Sunday, and sometimes they sit in the room and they hear the message and they hear us talk about the word, and God changes their heart, and God changes their mind about something that's happening with their life, or they get a new teaching or a new revelation, and it equips them for something, as I said earlier, not to go out and win the whole world, but change their life. There are good things that happen here. When you miss this gathering, you miss out on something that God may want to do in your life. Well, Pastor, yeah, but we have all this stuff. I'm not saying this stuff is okay. I've already been down that path. What I'm saying is, why do you come? Come with intention. Come with intention to sing. Come with intention to pray one for another. Come with the intention to recognize that somebody might be hurting today and I can say something to them. Come with the intention to give or hear the message or hear globally what we're doing together. Not just to be seen, and not just to be social, not just because my parents maybe come, or not just what I've done my whole life. Our churches are full of people who live their whole life just to go, and missing out on the power of who Christ is. What makes church relevant today is this. It's not solely the very simple fact that we are in the room today. What makes this space so vital and so loving and so healthy is that you and I recognize it as community, loving each other, living not isolated, confessing one to another, giving of ourselves one to another, doing good works together, walking in fellowship one with another, crying together, laughing together, telling jokes together, being in life together. That's what this is on Sunday. It's nothing more and nothing less. It's not so you can go tell somebody, "Whew, man, preacher preached a good one today." Don't ever say that to anyone. Don't. Tell them about the people that you set beside and how God changed their life today. Don't ever bring anybody to this church just because you want them to hear the preacher. I beg you. I know that sounds kind of weird, but tell them you want to come hear the word of life and experience what Christ is doing amongst a group of people who are letting God change their life. It's not built on me. I tried for years to build Sunday morning on me. Man, it just didn't work. This is built on you and I together. So I see Sunday morning as just another place where I get the chance to see the people that I love and to sing and declare the wonders and the works of the Lord. Where I get the chance for you to share I can't Listen, I can't wait for the next days ahead of the most amazing things that are going to be happening, or the stories you're going to hear of what God has been doing through a lot of efforts of us living together in community. And hear stories of life change. Hear stories you're not going to believe in. Hear stories you're going to go, really? We talked last week about isolation, or 2 weeks ago about isolation. We talked about coming as we are before the Lord. What happens when a group of people start doing that together? You know what happens? I start looking for them on Sunday morning. I want to stand beside somebody and sing as loud as I can with them the song that we sang today about the Lord is my salvation. That I want to build my life upon the firm foundation because my life has been a wreck. And I'm standing beside somebody whose life has been a wreck because they've been sharing with me in life. Man, that, my friends, is why I come to church on Sunday. I don't come to hear John. I don't. I hear him enough all week. And he doesn't come to hear me. We used to play Top This Sermon years ago. He'd preach one, and I think, God, I got to do better than that. I got to find a better illustration. I got to find a better video. I got to find some better. And man, when we started letting God start just changing our lives and realize that, man, this is not about us. This is about him and us. Then I wanted to come to church on Sunday. I wanted to come get a coffee with you on Sunday. And so the elephant in the room is, you're here. We come every Sunday. Why are we talking about it? I just think maybe we can do a better job at why we come. So now when I get up on Sunday morning, I want to come here. I'm so excited, and I get disappointed when I don't see your face. So the next time, this is the only thing I'm going to do to you. The next time that you come to church or you decide not to come to church, I just want you to know that I'm going to be missing you. And as you're driving down the road going to the Titans game next Sunday, shouldn't say that. It's okay. I'm not against the Titans and I hope we win and all that stuff. Whatever. It's okay. And it's okay to take your kids to soccer or volleyball. It's okay. It's really okay. As long as you understand why we gather. It's okay. But you will be missed. Not because I want people in the room, because and we close with this, because I don't want you to fall into the trap of being weary and giving up. Just as it says. So let us serve together so that you don't become weary and you don't give up. I don't want you to give up. And I will say that I've been around long enough that I've seen too many people give up. And it's the one thing that breaks my heart more than anything else as a person of the body of Christ, is when I see somebody give up on the faith, or I don't see them push into the things of hope. And so Sunday is just a part of what builds that up. Father, I love you this morning. And in a simple conversation today about church, and look a little different than where we've been driving the ship over the past several weeks, but this has been on my heart. This has been burning deep inside of me. That I just think maybe we're coming to church for the wrong reason. And some of us might have found a connectivity to some of the things that we said today. And maybe in jest and maybe in humor. And there's all kinds of physical expressions of a weekly church that we could go through and try to find just the right one. God, it's not about finding something that fits us. It's not about a self-serving that we do. It's about us and who we are reaching to you as a community of people. And God, when we begin to recognize that, when we begin to move out of what we have to offer to the world as a, quote, church, but we have to offer them Jesus, then, God, we become transformed. And it's in that transformation of our lives that we want to share that. So we want to bring people into a space where there's health and life and vitality of the kingdom. And God, where we may have missed it in our life, forgive us. where I may have missed it in my life, forgive me. God, not forgive me for not showing up on Sunday, but forgive me for showing up for the wrong reason. Don't show up out of loyalty, God. Don't let us show up out of obligation. Don't let us show up out of tradition. Don't let us show up out of ritual. God, for the law is not what governs us. Your love has set us free. So let us show up because life change is happening among his body. And God, we'll be honored to celebrate that together. And it's in Christ's wonderful and marvelous name we pray. Amen. At the end of service today, the last several weeks, we've been offering and telling you that I know many of you are running through things in life, and maybe you're not in a community, maybe you don't have anybody to be a part of what you're experiencing in your life. Well, we want to be that for you. We're here. Pastor John and myself will be here. We welcome you to come. Find us, find someone down at the front, just reach out and grab somebody. Listen, you don't even have to grab somebody with a lanyard. Hear my heart. This is a group of people who just say, hey, what's happening in your life? We'll pray with you right now. And we'll believe together. And if it's we need to bring it to a group, we'll take it to a group. If we need to bring it to the church, we'll take it to the church. We're just praying one for another, believing together that we're going to see God change lives and heal. In the midst of your crisis, don't be afraid to come, because that's what we do together. I love you this morning. Thank you for being here. John's going to come, button up, wrap it up things for me today. Thanks. God bless you.
That was amazing. He doesn't want us to say that, but it was. Great day. Hey, so a couple things. As always, at the end, we always, you can give anytime. We have a little giving station there. You can give online. You can give via your phone. You can go wherever you need to do that. But we do ask you, especially if you're members, just to continue in that sacred act of us being generous, as we've been reading in that same passage from 2:42 through 47. Let's just all continue to support that. And finally, next week, we're going to be having a baptism. We've been talking about this for several weeks, and several of you are coming along with that. I wanted to just kind of tell you a little bit about baptism, what it is, a little bit, and what it's not. We talked to membership some, bless you, talked to membership some this morning. And we bless everyone here, yes. Baptism for us is about following Jesus into a place of obedience, and it's about celebrating. It's about those two things. We don't think that you getting baptized in water makes you a believer. We believe that because you are a believer, that you're invited into this place where we get to celebrate that together. And we were talking in membership about how it's symbolic of joining Jesus in his death, burial, and resurrection. And so you're saying, hey, that's happened, and that's happening in my life. And so one of the things that we talk about is, hey, I got this ring right here on my left finger, my left hand on that third finger. And everyone who sees that ring knows something about me. And if I take that ring off because I don't want people to know that would be a problem, wouldn't it? But I put that ring on every morning and wear it. And when I don't have it on, it's really kind of makes me feel a little bit weird, because I'm so used to that being there. And baptism is a lot like the ring. Like, it doesn't make you a Christian, just like this ring doesn't make me married. There's nothing legal about this ring. This is a representation of the covenants and the relationship that I have with the one that I love. And baptism is that chance for that public, outward expression of that inward thing that Jesus has done in all of us. And so directly after service, as soon as we finish here, and I apologize for this mic, we're just going to have to deal with it. We're going to get through this, okay? It's going to be fun. Right after service, if you want to be baptized and you've already told us, and if maybe from this talk you want to come and find out more information, I'm going to meet for like 5 to 10 minutes just right here in this fellowship room, and it'll be really, really quick, and just kind of give you details for next week and how it's going to work. If you want to come explore that, maybe you're like, I'm not sure, I have more questions, just come on. There'll be no pressure. You don't have to do it. Don't do it. But it is something we believe all believers should do. And it's awesome. It's an exciting moment, and next week's going to be so much fun. So right after service, I'll meet you right there. If you're new today, we have a little corner here with some people that would love to just say hi and meet you, get to know you. And, man, we're all about connecting in community. So make sure that you don't, like he said, just take the day and take the service. If this is just all it is, you haven't experienced the church at Pleasant Grove. You experience church services at Pleasant Grove. But the church is really beautiful. and she's growing, and we're all growing together. We're broken, and man, we're living this life together. So make sure you also get to experience the church today. Meet a few of us. We'd love to get to know you as well. Guys, have a great day, and we really do hope that the Titans win. All right, thanks. Bye.
I'll never drown. Take a hit, never quit. Might be down, but never out. There are days that